Yes. Okay. So, let's see. Okay. What year were you born?
1931, Roanoke, Virginia.
Okay. And you grew up on a farm.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about your just your life growing up on the farm?
Uh, yes. And then, when you get about 15 or 16, you think you want to live somewhere else. You want to live close to people, and
Hmm.
we had people around us, but we had playmates too that lived, within a pretty good distance. And so, you'd start liking boys and you'd start looking for cars going up and down the road thinking one's going to turn in,
Oh.
with your boyfriend. But that's about the extent of it. And we only had about probably between 18 acres. But my dad used every inch of it. I mean, every inch. We even had strawberries in the front yard for a while. And I remember we had to have people come and help pick the strawberries. We had a big front yard. So, uh, and then all of a sudden they disappeared, and I do not remember him taking them up and planting grass. But later in life, we had the grass in the front yard, uh, mostly strawberries. And I say he did use every inch of it. We had everything in that small acreage. So that was, healthy and good. Hmm.
That's great.
Yeah.
What kind of livestock did you have?
Livestock.
Hmm.
Oh, we only had one cow, one horse, 2 or 3 pigs, lots of chickens. And that was probably it. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Just enough to, sustain us, I guess. Mhm.
Okay. What would be like an every day on the farm? What was your life like growing up?
Well, when we were younger, of course, we played outside most of the time. Our backyard was pretty shaded. So early years, we just played outside and, we had place to run. We had a little creek in part of our lot, and we'd go down and play in the creek. And my mother did not want us to do that because the farm next to us, they had cattle, and the cows would go in the creek above us, and that creek would come down, and she'd say, "I don't like you all getting down in that water because it's probably not healthy." Well, we didn't listen to her. We'd dam up the creek, and we'd go in it, and who knows? I mean, it's a wonder we didn't come down with something. But we always did. We always healthy.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome. Hi, this is Sarah, and you're listening to a special three-part series on Ladies First, Not Really, where I got the opportunity to interview a lady, Violet Pennick, who's 94 years old, and was willing to share her life story with me and her memories of World War II. This is part one. What was your like a
oh,
everyday? What would be?
of course, we had to help a lot too, with just, brought up learning about gathering the eggs, maybe throwing some things out to the chickens when they were out in the open. They mostly were in the chicken house. And we had to work. It wasn't like all play. And my dad was a rural mail carrier. He had the same route for 35 years, I think.
Wow.
And he actually carried our mail too. So we didn't have a mailbox or anything. We were the only one on the whole route that didn't have a mailbox, but he would bring the mail to us. Pretty much back in those days, all the neighbors actually did just about the same thing, the same time of year. Apple butter time, we had the copper kettle, and we passed it around from neighbor to neighbor because those things were pretty expensive. You had to have the copper lining for apple butter. And then the neighbors would come and help peel apples for the apple butter, and we would go to their house and help them. It was just kind of a little community that helped each other, and that was good, and you don't see that much anymore.
Hmm.
So that was good. We got to meet all the neighbors. Well, we knew everybody from all over because, you know, you go to school with the neighbors' kids and you might go over to their house. So you knew people from probably at least 3, 4, or 5 miles away. And you grew up with the children and you got to know them. It was just like a community.
And you weren't too far. You could still get together with the kids and play with them
Mhm.
often.
Especially those that lived. We had one that lived pretty close and they had 7 children. So we would play with them. And then the one next to us, they had a farm, big farm, and they had a couple of children. And I don't know, we just all mingled together and just, played together and grew up together, actually. So that was about it.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Did you each have specific chores to do or just kind of helped out
We
every day
just
where
helped
needed?
out when we were needed.
Did you all have electricity at that time?
We
Okay.
were one of the lucky ones.
No.
Um, I know there was I don't know if it was Amish church or what it was, what denomination, but it was maybe, how many feet? About a fifth of a mile right from us. And just a little plain little church. And they didn't have running water. And I remember my mother took me up there one time just for the church service. And the women sat on one side and the men on the other. I'm sure you've heard of
Oh,
churches
yeah.
like that. That wasn't one we attended, but she wanted to go to that service one. So we went up. I was the only one that went with her that day. 'Cause I was the youngest of 6, so, and they had to come to our house to get a bucket of water to take up for them to drink in case somebody needed any water,
Oh my
so
goodness.
yeah. So that was I remembered that.
Yeah,
That was
that was
kinda
a cool
neat.
experience.
Yeah, and, they had their own little graveyard across the road, and later in life, my husband and I went this is getting off the subject,
No,
I
that's
guess.
okay.
Later in life, my husband and I would walk through that cemetery, and the strangest names, there were no names of anyone living in any of the neighbors way around, even 5, 6 miles away.
Hmm.
Strange names, and I don't know I was really curious about there's a gentleman that does history of the Roanoke. I've been meaning to get in touch with him to see if he could figure out the origin of those names that are buried there from that church. And I had never heard of any of them.
Hmm.
And so that was just a little side thing.
Well, that's interesting
Yeah,
mystery.
that was really interesting. And actually, it was a little, when you went from my house to go up the road and you went around this big curve, and the cemetery was a shortcut that we could go through to eliminate that curve. So when we had to walk up the road, we got cut through the cemetery. It would come out on the other side and save us a lot of walking around that corner. So that was how we discovered the names. And then my husband and I later kind of explored a little bit more, and that was when we discovered the graveyard that was gated even. It had all these strange names. And
That's really
yeah,
interesting.
that's kind of a mystery.
Oh,
So,
that would be neat to find out.
mm,
That's so cool.
yeah. Uh-huh.
I love hidden graveyards.
Do you?
Yeah, I do, because it's just, I don't know, it's somebody's life that,
Exactly.
you don't know. And
Uh-huh.
it's always just that, oh, I wonder who that was.
Mm-hmm.
Did they live here? When did they live here? What
Right.
happened to them?
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great.
And that's the other if I answered your original question or not.
You did. What was
Mhm.
your school like?
We had to ride the bus for a pretty long way because we had no schools right in within the area. I think the closest one was probably up closer to uh, Bent Mountain, which the mountain went to North Carolina.
Okay.
So we'd have to go to the foot of that mountain, just about to go to school. It was a pretty new school, luckily. It was called Back Creek School, and that was where we went to grade school but my 2 oldest brothers were older, so we had to go up there, unload some of the children, then went all the way to Salem, which was another long ride, And so that it was a pretty long morning to get to school, and for
Wow.
them to get to school. And so recently they built a school, just not recently, but after we were graduated and all, they built another school that was really close. We could have walked to it. They built a grade school, no, a junior high and a high school. So we missed all that. And of course, population came and, just you wouldn't even recognize our place anymore. It's just,
Aw.
yeah,
Is it
sad.
still around, the house and all?
Yes, but the lady that bought our house, she, I guess, must have needed the money. We had a nice big front yard, had a beautiful old oak tree, just shaped so beautifully. She had that cut down and she sold 1, 2, 3 lots separately. And instead of our house looked out to the road, and then they built a road, this county built a road in where our driveway was coming up to our house. They built a road through, and all houses were all back behind our farm and on our farm and all that. Let's see. She sold the lots, and our house faced out this way with our front yard. She had 3 houses built facing the other way. So our house was just cramped in there. Oh, it just, you know, we
No.
went back about 2 months ago and just walked up to the house. I don't think anybody was in there, but someone had been living there. And the house is kind of crumbling. I mean, that we had columns in the front on our porch. We had a big front porch with a side porch, and the columns at the bottom sitting on the cement, whatever foundations, on our porch, were rotting out. And so it's not going to be long till it just kind of disintegrates.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. My brother and I both went uh, we went for a reunion or something, and so we both stopped back by there, and we were both disappointed. And of course, somebody else somebody else had bought another lot right in front of our house. So you come out our house, and the sidewalk is probably just crumbling, and right down below, I mean, somebody's built another house. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 houses right in front of right in our front yard.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
Mhm.
that's hard to see.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
But that's progress, I guess.
yeah.
Um, we had running water, but sometimes the well, I don't know if it was deep enough or what, but we'd run out if we didn't get rain,
Mm,
and we had to pump that pumped it up from the ground, something, way down. And that wasn't a very good time when we couldn't maybe flush a toilet like we should, and that kind
sure.
of thing. And so, but, once the rains came, we had water supply. Not very often. It didn't happen very often, but I know my dad would say, turn the water off. You need to save water, and to this day, I don't like to see my water running. I say, I can't leave the water running.
Mm,
That's such a,
it's ingrained, yeah.
uh-huh. And that's not a bad thing. And my son says, oh, you don't have to worry about saving water that much. And I said, well, it's just something that's been ingrained in me ever
Mhm.
since I was little, and it just stuck.
Sure,
So,
absolutely.
but no, we had plenty of water, but it was just that sometimes if it was real, real dry,
Mm,
the pump just wouldn't, pull up enough water. And the lady that bought the house, she had it dug deeper and she didn't have any problems. And now, of course, the city or the county's taken over. They have the county water, so
right.
no problem.
What kind of outbuildings did you have? Did you have like a smokehouse? I know some farms
Didn't
did.
have a smokehouse. We had 2 chicken houses. We had a big barn, and we had I don't know who built all these things because there was nothing there when we moved into the house. And we had a nice pig pen, and I guess that was it. So we
Okay.
had the chickens were housed in 2 separate chicken houses, and the pig pen was my uncle was a real good carpenter. So I figured that maybe my dad employed him and maybe some of his friends, and they probably built all this because it wasn't on there when they moved from town, Roanoke, to this place, and it had nothing. And so that was 1931. I was born, and when we moved,
Okay.
after we moved, I
Okay.
was actually born at home, and so all this was built in about 2 or 3 years because I don't ever remember it not being there.
Okay.
So my dad was a busy man. He must have had somebody, and the barn was a pretty big barn. Had walked in the main floor of the barn where he kept the food and the corn crib, and we stacked the hay. And then you go down the steps, and that's where the cow and the horse, they had their own little stall. And he had a big thing where he would mix their food with, used to smell so good. It was some kind of brand that they fed the cows or the horse. And then we just left to go and smell it when he was mixing something up, in there. But he gave him straw too. Anyway, that was good. And of course, we had to, my brothers milk the cow when my dad couldn't. And I learned how to milk, but only one time. That was when my brothers were gone, and my dad and my mom had left to go somewhere. And so my cousin and I, we were supposed to milk the cow that morning. And we stayed up so late the night before, we forgot to milk the cow.
Oh no.
So at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we woke up, and the cow would moo, moo. She wanted to be milked. We said, "Oh my gosh, we didn't milk the cow this morning. We got to go out there because we were expecting our parents to come back
Oh gosh.
about that time." So we got busy and we went out and milked the cow, and they didn't know the difference. So,
Oh, so you were safe.
but she that cow let us know that she didn't get milked that
Oh,
morning.
that's
So,
funny.
and
But did your since you guys had electricity, did your mom have a wood stove that she cooked, or was it
she had like
gas?
old timey wood stove,
Okay.
and she baked her cakes and all
Oh, I
that.
love those.
Yeah, and it had a little warming closet up at the top. I don't know how they used to bake cakes because it had a little thermometer on the front, and it would tell you what degree it was. So she would have to, put more wood on the fire to get the heat up enough to bake the cake. She made, wonderful cake, coconut especially.
Oh, that's an art.
Yeah, that to this day, coconut cake's my favorite. She was a good cook, and biscuits, and um, during the war, I guess we didn't have quite as much to eat because food was rationed. Everything was rationed. You probably you've been
Yeah,
told this, I'm
familiar, yeah.
sure, and maybe from your family history, I don't know, but you got coupons for shoes. I think you got 2 pair a year, and you had coupons for sugar and other things too that they were rationed during the war, World War II. And my 2 brothers were in that war too. And, I don't remember ever wanting anything. A lot of times, which farm people did, my mom would fix a big kettle of pork and beans, of, pinto beans
Mhm.
and cornbread, and we had lots of gravy over bread, and all kinds of fruit. My dad had apples and peaches and strawberries and all, you name it, grapes. And they may not have been plenty, but he had plenty of peaches and plenty of apple trees. But one little grapevine, and I told you he utilized every inch. And we had a couple of cherry trees, and we had beehives because of the pollination.
Mhm.
And when I think back on it, he was a pretty smart dad, to think about all these things you had to have. Of course, his family were farmers too, and that's the only way they had to make a living was on the farm. And my dad did have the mail route, so he had the extra money coming in.
Supplement, yeah.
But he just had everything all balanced out. And I just think back, with 6 kids, he did pretty good. He, like, utilized every and he was a worker. He was a big man. He was stocky and, I think that had a lot to do with his strength and everything. He was very strong, and he did a lot of this work himself. I mean, he didn't have anybody to come and help. He just, you know I remember helping him plant strawberries one year, and, he was a man of few words too, but when we kids stepped out of line, he let us know it. Yeah. So, all in all, we didn't know it then. We didn't know we had such a good upbringing until we got older. We thought everybody lived like we did, and maybe you thought that too when you were growing up. And the older that I got, I realized, we had so much more than some of our neighbors did, but we didn't think anything about it then, everybody was the same. And um, we had a telephone. Some of the neighbors didn't have it. They would come and use our phone. And it had the party line. You've heard
Oh,
about the
yeah.
party line.
Yep.
And so, all in all, I think we had a pretty blessed childhood.
For more information, visit my blog at rebelliouscorsets.com.